Give me a hell yeah.
Ooh, you know what time it is.
Bless up. Bless up.
Give me a hell yeah. No regard for human life.
Ooh, you know what time it is.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know. Deuce and Mo.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know.
Do it for Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, it's my favorite show. Do it for Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings. Big hopes and dreams as we cover our kings. Never cover the kingdom, but we loving our kings. And we covered your prayers as we doing our thing. Big Deuce with the par, Lil Mo on the screen. Solo or together, still do it for team. Never switch up for $1 or revenue stream. So we always got each other, balance out the beam. Deuce and Mo, and that's the end of the theme song. Do it for Deuce and Mo.
We are live!
Do it for Deuce and
Happy
Mo.
Tuesday.
When it comes to the Kings,
Deuce.
it's my favorite show.
I mean, you just
Yep.
put
didn't
your
mean
fist
to.
in front of my face.
It was just looking at. I wasn't like that.
But since when do you do anything with your arm?
I was just copying you. I was like having
That's
a good
not
time.
how you
being
do
like,
it. You gotta do the Scott Hall.
What up, Deuce? Hey, Morgan.
But it's my bit, so don't do it ever again.
Okay, shit.
Let's go, Kane.
How we doing on this Tuesday? Deuce Mason, Morgan Reagan, we are live. Little pre-show. Shout out to everyone here. Shout out to our guy, Dr. Nesto in the house, who just subscribed on
Aw.
Twitch. 15 straight months.
Dude,
Give him a
appreciate
hell
you.
yeah. One of the OGs. He's just got back from Maui.
Oh, what a great place to be.
Rough life. He said, I'm a little jet lagged. Oh, I'm sorry. You went to Maui. Am I supposed to feel bad because you're a little jet lagged after a beautiful vacation in
Well,
Maui? Like,
unless
what?
he got hit with some of those extreme waves,
Okay.
you know, you gotta
Okay.
show him some grace.
Also, shout out to everyone watching us on YouTube. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button because all it does is help our channel grow. It's not about making Morgan feel better about herself or me. Just hit the thumbs up because it has our page show up. What?
No, keep going because I was looking at some numbers of how
Yeah.
are you guys, the way that you guys are hitting these thumbs up and allowing the algorithms to go be on other pages and be suggestions for other people, other NBA fans. Thank you. Those numbers are freaking huge and we appreciate you.
Yes. Also, Mark with the C says we need a King Keegan emote. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yeah, Leezy's right. Comment on all the videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up. It all helps. Anyway, we're going to have a fun podcast today. We're going to be catching up with our buddy Sean Cunningham from FOX40. He was in Vegas, I think, the entire summer league, which
Wow.
I don't think you guys understand what that can do to your body.
Oh.
I've said that 3 days in Vegas is the equivalent to about 10 days anywhere else. So this may be shaky math.
Deuce's math.
10 days in Vegas is like 21 days somewhere else.
Wow, that is shaky math. It doesn't really add up.
It pretty much does.
Okay.
The whole point is being in Vegas that long, it wears on you.
It's not necessarily like the most healthy thing in the world. Like even if you're like, oh, I don't drink, I don't party, like you're still not cooking your own food. You're still having to like find places to find a water bottle to survive. It's a lot of work.
David Lee with the comment of the day nominee.
Oh.
And we haven't even started the podcast.
Okay.
Rest in peace, bad guy. Talking about Scott Hall. Keegan Murray joining the Kings will be as impactful as Scott Hall invading WCW. You people know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
That was honestly.
Hey, yo.
I'm not even gonna ruin it.
All right, let's stop messing around. Deuce and Mo podcast coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hit. Damn it. Hit my music.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Deuce and Mo podcast. And you know it's the offseason when there are Twitter beefs at night between Pistons fans and Kings fans, and all they're talking about is the cities.
Amazing.
This is where you go, we need basketball back. What are we doing here? What the hell are we doing here?
I always find it so interesting. So interesting.
It's okay. Like, you don't have to like the city.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you don't. Everyone's different. Some people like trees. Some people like desert. Some people don't like anything. And it's okay.
It's okay. Don't get offended either way. Anyway, that's where we're at in the NBA offseasons when people are breaking that stuff down. It's not about Ivy and Murray. It's about, no.
City.
Sacramento's so much better than Detroit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Morgan, how are you?
Fantastic on this Tuesday, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I've been sleeping, now that I'm back home in Sacramento, beautiful Sacramento where all the trees are. And it's nice. I feel like I got a little bit more of my voice back.
Yeah, sounds better.
But also it was fun because you know how it's like, oh, like everything's over, basketball season's over. It was fun, like just to end it with Keegan Murray being MVP of the Summer League. It's just fun.
Well, we're going to recap the offseason and catch up with our buddy Sean Cunningham, who lasted in Vegas for Summer League the entire run.
Lasted.
I was there 3 days, and I feel like I may never be the same. Sean is just a machine.
He is. He can, I mean, think about it. He goes on at 10 p.m., I think, and he's like off at 11. So it's like his night usually starts at 11.
Right.
Pretty interesting human we got there.
We do have to start today's podcast talking about something that caught my attention this morning. Tom Ziller, for those who don't know, started a website long ago called Sacktown Royalty. It eventually became an SB Nation property that fell apart, that morphed into the King's Herald. Ziller's not involved with SB Nation anymore. He's got his own Substack. Mm-hmm. He loves the NBA. He always talks about the league. And he's made it pretty... He's put it out there that he's not really a Kings fan anymore. He's backed away from supporting the Kings. It's done too much to him.
And
it's caused too much pain. But today he wrote a story on Substack that I can't figure out at all. It's not long, but it's interesting coming from a guy who said, I'm no longer in it.
Uh-huh.
And I'm curious to hear what the chat has to say about this, and you, Morgan. Is he being genuine or not? I'm going to read it.
Okay, read it, because I read it, and then read it, and then I'll let you know.
The Kings have returned. And then it says, we're getting 40 wins this year. Good morning. Let's basketball. Hear me out. Keegan Murray, Summer League MVP, high-level scoring on great efficiency, showed some defensive instincts, immediately feels a critical need for Sacramento, and looks ready to contribute day one as a shooter and scorer. Murray is 22. Age 22 pays Stojakovic for what it's worth, 12 points on 45% shooting, 38 from 3, 88% from the free throw line, Keegan can do that. Peja became Peja at 23, by the way, his third year in the league, and 5th since being drafted. Domantas Sabonis arrived in Sacramento as a 25-year-old all-star, averaging 20 and 10 with superb passing skills. You know who once arrived in Sacramento as a 25-year-old all-star, averaging 20 and 10?
Who?
With superb passing skills? That's right, Chris Webber. De'Aaron Fox has never been an all-star. Jason Williams nor Mike Bibby ever made the all-star team. Fox is nothing like either. White Chocolate was an ordained minister of the dime who couldn't shoot and didn't score, while Bibby was a dead-eye shooter, best suited as a third option who didn't need to make plays or attack much. Fox is a top 20 scorer, a downhill score-first attacker with an inconsistent jumper, a really good but not all-star point guard, at least at this point. Davion Mitchell, pit bull guard defender with a head to go to the rim when the lanes are there, and the best nickname in the league. Kevin Huerter knows exactly what he's supposed to do. Lock in. Harrison Barnes still here. Glue, defense, maturity, leadership, buckets when you need them. Malik Monk, buckets, helps the Kings might their constitutionally required Kentucky Wildcat quota. Trey Lyles, quality minutes. Trey, quality minutes. Lyles. Rashawn Holmes, push out, bang. Chimezi Metu, hell yeah. And Namias Kid, talking back to the number 1 pick. You don't know me, brah. KZ Okpala, steeped in 717 career minutes of Heat culture. His new coach had him for the Nigerian national team and said he could be a defensive player of the year if he could get on the floor. Guess who controls whether he gets on the floor now? Make it happen, coach. Mike Brown. Miscast a million times after a hugely successful run alongside LeBron. Defensive wizard tasked not with a big personality team trying to win a title as a stint in LA or a rebuilding club looking for an identity, Cleveland Part 2, but to make some fertile fields in the valley and bear fruit. To make it make sense. You feel the ground moving under your feet. It's happening. It's finally happening. The Kings have returned. 40 wins, maybe 42. Morgan Reagan, after I just read that.
The whole thing.
Is that genuine or not?
From Tom Ziller? Like, is he being genuine or is he being sarcastic?
I don't know how to take it.
I think he's being, I think he's being genuine. I think it's optimistic and like I love it. It's like a movie trailer that is a good movie trailer that doesn't show the whole movie, but is like, here's a tease. This is what it can be. And even the supporting cast was in there, and it's like, oh, you even made the supporting cast look exciting and dramatic. That's what he did. Now, finishing with the 40 to 42 wins, that to me, as you know, is very optimistic.
I don't buy it. And if he wants to come back aboard the Kings bandwagon, not welcome.
What the hell?
I'm sorry. And maybe I'm sensitive to this.
Welcome,
and
Tom.
look, I'm more than understanding of bandwagon fans.
Yeah.
There's going to be kids when the Kings at some point in our lives become good, and that's what makes them fans. But when you are an adult and you choose, hey, I'm done with this team, and you make it clear you're done with the team, you don't get to come back when you see a glimmer of hope. Because there are people who have been watching us live over the years, and they're here after games when the Kings have lost 7, 8, 9 games in a row, when they're giving up 140 in a game. They've been here through thick and thin. So I love those people who know that it's going to feel so joyous to them once this turns around at some point. For Tom Ziller, love the guy. I've known him for years.
His career went that way, though. It went like took a little turn.
You're not welcome.
I disagree.
No, you acted. You made it clear you were done with the team. You don't get to come back when you think it might be good. Oh, they could be 500. I'm back on the bandwagon now.
Well, here's my
get the F out.
No, my only pushback to you is that this team has strung with people's like emotions, like actually like their emotions, not just, their basketball fandom, their emotions, Deuce. You know this over the years, what this franchise has done. And it's not even just all of this organization. Like you think about the times, the moving times, the not moving times.
I'm aware. Guess who stuck there?
But that's my thing. I've also have stuck there. But thing is with Tom Ziller, his career took a different path. And so, like,
No.
he had a little bit of a disconnect and was allowed to do that.
What
I think
happened
he's allowed
in
to do
his
that.
Kings fandom, it has nothing to do with his career. He chose to not be a Kings fan anymore. There was a gigantic boulder between him and the Kings' success. And you know what he did? He went, I'm not going to mess around trying to get all over that boulder. I'm not going to do that. I'm going the other way. I'm running
I want to
away.
get him on the pod.
I'm telling you, I'm not even like, I get why people choose not to cheer for a team, but like, you can't just come back. Like, you got to make up your mind. When times are rough, that's a true test of being a fan is, all right, it's easy to be on board when things are looking great.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's so fun. You got to win. You have a
Everything's
chance
fun.
in the playoffs. That's fun.
It
It's just like a relationship.
It tells a lot about you as a fan. Yes.
Yes.
That's fair.
Fraudulent fans.
Okay.
Not welcome.
Wasn't being dramatic.
I'm
was
just.
a little dramatic. A little dramatic?
No.
Okay. Either way, I see, because whenever we're obviously on some of these trips, like Vegas, for example, and talking to people about Kings fans, and like people always being like, man, if you guys were just good, think about this, this, and this, and obviously the team and everything. And we're like, these fans are here no matter what. Like, the loyal fans are here listening to people like us talk about summer league basketball, listening to us break down the most simple things. And you're right. These fans are so damn loyal that, like, I get it. I get where you're coming from.
My whole point, too, to sum this up before we get to Sean Cunningham, is this. Like, there are different levels of fandom. Obviously, I think some of the people who listen to our podcast all the time and watch our live feeds, they're the type that they're the hardcore of hardcore. You got more casual fans. And fans that I root for the Kings, but they're not like diehards. That's fine.
Yeah.
But when you actively
leave,
I'm done. I'm out. You chose. You went the divorce route.
Sometimes people need it for their mental health. Like,
that's fine. But again, you don't need to tell anybody. You don't need to make it public and be like, the Kings are such a joke. I'm out. And now you see, they made some nice moves. I like Keegan Murray. Oh, Mike Brown, stability. Oh, my goodness, Sabonis. I want to come back. No, because you weren't here watching Corey Joseph every night.
No Corey Joseph slander.
I'm not even.
No Corey Joseph slander.
It's not even slander.
That's a little. You're borderline, bud. You're borderline.
I'm not even. And just to make it clear to the people watching us live, like, get him Deuce, tell him Deuce. I'm not doing this for the cheap pop. I'm being absolutely serious here. I just don't think you could be like, hey, I'm not on board anymore, and then you go, I'm back. That's weird to me.
We need him to explain himself. That's where we're at with everything right now.
By the way, Sean was just here, and then he popped out. So
what the hell, Sean?
Let me text him here.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's funny that I'm bringing up Tom Ziller's mental health when it comes to the Sacramento Kings. But the only reason why I feel like I can is because the things that I felt for my mental health the last couple of years and how in it I've been.
Okay.
So
did you leave?
No. I'm just, my whole point is that I'm bringing, like, I think it's funny that I'm actually bringing up mental health with Kings fandom, but it's actually relevant in a lot of different ways.
What would he have to do to be welcomed back by Kings fans?
This isn't a fraternity. This isn't anything
it's like a gang.
that. No.
Okay. I'm just saying. All right, let's stop wasting time. He is here. I'll bring him in. He's from FOX40. He survived a long time in Las Vegas. And I have his screen messed up. He's the one and only Sean Cunningham. Hi, Sean.
Deuce and Mo.
How are you?
What's up, guys? Why do I always look so goddamn zoomed in when I come out here? I need to be right. I don't like this. And I got scared a minute ago. It looked like Deuce was yelling, and I got scared.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
so
Can
glad.
I was for a second because and it's not that big of a deal. Okay, it's off season. But Sean, Tom Ziller today wrote on his Substack, like, really giving love to the Kings' moves, and it sounded like he was back on board, which I found hilarious because Ziller's been very public about how he's like done being a Kings fan, and now they make a couple of nice moves and he's back on, you're not welcome is my point. You're sorry. Go find another team. It's over.
He's not welcome.
Yes. Am I crazy or Sean? This is not even about. I'm talking about fandom, Sean. Like, if you're a Niners fan, yeah, you may not be as hardcore over the years, but you stuck by your team. You watch your team. If you're just name the random. You can't just leave and then when it's good again. You come back, especially when you're an adult.
Oh,
like kids. Okay, kids are gonna do. You can't do that as an adult.
Here's the only issue, though, Sean, is that Deuce just said, what would Tom Ziller need to do for us to accept him back? Like, we're a goddamn sorority or fraternity. And then he said, no, we're a gang. So what would he need to do to get back into the Kings fandom club?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, like, I agree with you. I mean, I hate bandwagon fans. I don't think loyalty is everything, right? And I judge people who jump around. I mean, you can like, it's kind of funny. Like some people watch what we do in the media and they're like, I always say that, hey, when King season ends and granted, like even when King season is going on, we're still going to show what the Warriors do because they're a Bay Area team and every other Bay Area team gets coverage in Sacramento. So why not the Warriors? And some people, oh, you're jumping on the bandwagon. It's like, well, no, I mean, you're fooling yourself if you don't think that there's a million Warrior fans in our market already. So the object is to get people to watch you. So yes, your coverage would have to be, that's different. Like, but when you grow up, I've had conversations, and I hope actually some of my former coworkers hear this, but I've had conversations where coworkers will show up in Sacramento, and granted, TV, as you guys know, TV and radio, oftentimes it's rare if you stay in one market for such a long time and don't move around, but they go to another market and they're like, oh, I got to get the new gear for the team to show that I'm getting immersed into the culture of the city and this fanhood. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude, if you're a Raider fan and you're in Seattle, you're still a Raider fan. Like it doesn't change. You don't need to all of a sudden put on the Seahawks gear and
be
start
repping the area code or something. That's weird.
And like they go, well, I'm not as big of a sports fan as you are. And it's like, no, man, like you don't just trade your children for hey, these children who grew up with me in my hometown. And
in all fairness, kids may be worth trading at some point if they're
That's
terrible.
true too.
I've heard that. It's probably why I don't have children, at least that I know of. And so I think that's probably why. Again, why am I so goddamn zoomed in? What do you guys do?
You're way further away now.
This is not on me, Sean.
This is maybe it's just on mine. I don't know.
It's on yours. I don't know why you're bugged by it so much. But,
I get it. No, I totally get it. I think you look great.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Sean, how many days
I'm the only guy
you...
wearing a hoodie, by the way, in Sacramento at this
time. I'm wearing a crew neck every day. Let's go. Let's do it. Yep, thank you.
So, Sean, how long were you in Vegas for total? How many days?
I might incriminate myself, but no, I was there for 8 days. 8 days, which is, to be honest, that's on the low end of some of the trips that I've had in Las Vegas over the years during Summer League, because you forget, like, sometimes there's Team USA right afterwards, and sometimes there's great AAU tournaments that go on. So this year was just an 8-day extravaganza that I got to see you guys for 5 minutes. 5 minutes or so.
Longer than 5 minutes, Sean. Don't pull that crap. Come on now.
It's funny because Sean was giving me crap because on the last night we didn't hang out, and I actually, after I got off the phone with him, I was thinking more about it. I went, oh, I remember, like, Sean came up to me at the party and we were talking, and then he saw that Rui Hachimura had some wine.
Oh.
And he goes, oh, I got to go over there and have some wine. And he left.
So who left?
He left me to go hang out
with an NBA player.
Oh, hey, there's Rui. I'm going to sip his wine and be BFFs. So just to be clear, you left.
Oh, and how's that friendship working out, Sean?
Well, okay. So in fairness, no, I didn't even get to taste the wine. That was, they just had like this, they had this great big thing that said, I was like, I want some wine. Like, I want to go try this. It was called like Black Samurai, I think. And, I was like, this looks intriguing. I want to go check it out. And I walked over there and first of all, Rui was surrounded by people that looked at me like, "The hell are you doing here? Go away."
Like, why are you over here right now?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, you look to be. It almost looks like a Costco sampling area, and I'd like to sample some of your wine, sir. And as I walked closer, it was like very off-putting. And it just didn't have a cool vibe to it. It was like, you shouldn't be here. And so I was like, all right, well, I better walk away. So I walk away and I look back and you guys are gone.
Oh,
and we didn't get to see Diplo together. We didn't get to go into the party, and I was very upset.
Okay, wrong. And one, I'm not a club guy. You're saying
I'm not
Diplo?
either, dude. I'm not either. Yeah, I did go see Diplo though. I did.
Diplo. And and I could not be less impressed with Diplo.
Here we
what
go.
did
Here we
he
go.
just go on his Spotify and hit shuffle? Because like I'm just being honest, there was nothing to me. Oh, there was some lights and some fog that got shut out. It just didn't do it for me. Maybe I don't appreciate that like I should.
I didn't even know it was him like up there, to be honest.
Honestly, if someone was like, "Hey, that wasn't it," I would not be able to tell a difference.
Facts. Sean's so disappointed.
All right, Sean, let's talk about Summer League for a second. We haven't had you on since
certain points of Summer League, right?
Yes.
We can leave certain points of Summer League out of it, I hope.
Sure.
Okay.
Summer League with the Sacramento Kings. What was your biggest takeaway after seeing Keegan Murray up close?
He looks like he belongs. He looks like a guy who I like that Jordi Fernandez started California Classic and Summer League in general and said like the biggest priority is to make sure that Keegan Murray belongs and we develop him and that everything you've heard about Keegan Murray, whether you watched him in college or not, translates to Summer League, which I caution people is not the NBA. But it's the first taste of an NBA experience. So I think my biggest takeaway is he didn't disappoint for sure. I mean, he obviously won the MVP award. He was impactful. He was a positive type player, even when he struggled, with turnovers and shooting. But kind of more than anything, guys, like to me, this wasn't surprising. He did exactly what, and again, I mean, if you weren't familiar with Keegan Murray, then you're just not really kind of a college basketball fan, and that's okay because I know that it happens during NBA season, so it's a lot of times where people are just so solely focused on the NBA, and that's great. So I can understand people's excitement, but I pump the brakes a little bit if they think he's going to be the best rookie based off of a few Summer League games. But I don't blame people for being excited. Like, you should probably be excited, and you should have been excited whether or not he played Summer League or not. Like you got the number 4 pick, and he's a guy who's known for scoring and can do a lot of intriguing things on the basketball floor. So he was surrounded himself with a group of people that he had the ability to be around a little bit longer than most of the teams competing in Summer League, and that's by virtue of being able to play at the California Classic and kind of hop to it right away. And I think he definitely played the part. I think he looked great. And I'm very intrigued to see what he looks like around actual NBA talent. So, yeah, I mean, I like the way he can. I think the only thing that surprised me the most, I think I mentioned it to you guys, kind of said it a lot by now. So, if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. I get that when I get this age, I do that. But he gets to a point where people talk about like you in your NBA career, whether it's 6 months in, 2 seasons in, whatever, they'll say the game slows down for you. But I feel like to a certain degree, he's already at that point. Like, there are elements of his game where he just lets the game come to him, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I do know I talked to a few people that they think that that's area of improvement, so it's almost like a negative, but I don't feel like it's a negative. And Doug Christie was really hard on him after, I think it was maybe the Orlando game, where he wasn't being assertive enough on the offensive end and wanted him to treat himself like a number 1 scoring option, and certainly he did that against Chet Holmgren in the Thunder in the following game. But like he even when he tries to press a little bit, it's interesting to see. He wants to be a good teammate. you can really kind of see him working through it. But more than anything, I just feel like basketball is everything's just kind of easy. It's not this like mechanical trying to force, trying to do too much, and really more than anything, he looks like he belongs. Like there's a
He
fluidity
just
to his
has a
game.
nice feel, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, not only does he, you talk about his maturity, obviously being the older rookie, but you mentioned that whole thing with Doug Christie, just talking about him being more assertive. Did Keegan Murray exceed your expectations? And with that, I mean, even with his ability within summer league to make those adjustments as a rookie to become more assertive, like, is that what you expected out of him this whole time, or did he like exceed your expectations?
I mean, I expected him just by virtue of being that number 4 pick. I expected him to come out and press and try to score and get up shots, and he did. I think there was a game where he took 12 of his 16 shots were from the perimeter, and I was like, okay, well, that's weird. Like, I don't know if that's necessarily something we needed to see, but I knew he was going to get a lot of shots and take scoring opportunities. But that being said, like, I didn't expect him to be as impactful in other areas of the game with this type of team around him, like showing the ability to play make, advancing the ball. I think he rebounded just as good as I thought he would. But again, like I just, the feel for the game is just totally there. And even with the turnovers, like that's to be expected. But sometimes I've covered too many summer league teams, especially Kings ones, where guys will go out there and struggle to shoot the ball or turn the ball over, and the game is just awful. Like they're just a big negative on the floor. And that just really wasn't the case with Keegan Murray. And I think that's super encouraging when you can struggle through a shot, struggle through turnovers, and still impact the game in a positive way. That's pretty encouraging sign.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to hear conversation about Keegan now after Summer League because, it's not only social media, but some of the media reaction locally about the pick I thought was borderline ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just, because it goes back to what Sean was saying, this is not as if like Keegan Murray averaged 10 a game last year, and it was a ridiculous reach to draft him at 4. There's clearly some teams interested in him at 4 in moving up. And there were teams throughout the lottery that would love to have someone like Keegan Murray. But I felt like there was so much, Jaden Ivey, it's only a 4-player draft. Anytime I hear that before a draft, I go, stop it. I think we hear that every year, and it turns out, there's actually multiple players that went later that can contribute at a high level. So I do think the fan base probably needed to see this. It just be like, oh, okay, he is good, and he's not a reach. They needed to see something. It's not the end-all, be-all, because like you said, it is Summer League, but he did so many good things out there that I think more people are encouraged now, especially compared to draft night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I also think, it's very like this doesn't mean he's going to be an all-star player.
Right.
And again, I would never pick that for him. I'd be pleasantly surprised if that happens. Again, I think when people look at, when they start talking about like, oh, this is a 3 or 4 player draft, they talk about in terms of star potential, but that doesn't mean you can't have a player that comes in and is an absolutely sensational player. There's plenty of really impactful players that don't make all-star teams and aren't superstar players. So I agree with you. I think it is good for people to see your pick, particularly at number 4, absolutely excel in different ways than Davion Mitchell did last year when he won co-MVP, and do it in a more traditional fashion where it is scoring, rebounding, defense, playmaking, and just overall winning. Like I know you were 3-2, but I also, I absolutely applaud whoever was picking the schedule, and I mean particularly in Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you.
That's our guy.
I want to write a thank you card. I mean,
we know him. We know him.
Do you? Well,
no,
okay.
for real.
Let me write him a thank you card, because this wasn't just go in there and play against some schleps. Like, you're getting Paolo Banchero, you're getting Chet Holmgren, you're getting Benedict Mathurin, then you play the Suns. And then, like, had he not played, or, I mean, he didn't play. Keegan Murray didn't play against Houston, but he would have been playing against Jabari Smith, man. Like, that's your top 5 right there. And
That's a good schedule right there.
Honestly, elite schedule maker.
Right.
But Sean too, because you keep talking about with Keegan Murray and him as, like, oh, if he ended up being an all-star, great, you'd be pleasantly surprised, all those things. He's going to start next year, right?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh,
does he have to?
Okay.
Yes.
No,
Does he have to?
Well,
Yes,
that's
Sean.
the thing. I used to think like, no, I don't. Like, that's not a big deal. I felt like after Summer League, to me, and I get it. Trust me, I factor everything in. I understand it's Summer League. I know it's not NBA caliber players, but to me, in a lot of ways, I look at the rest of the roster on the Sacramento Kings. I'm like, doesn't it seem like he would be your starter in that 4 spot?
There's still a lot of offseason left, but you still have guys like Harrison Barnes on your team, and you still have
A wing.
He's playing the 3.
I know,
Yeah.
true, probably playing the 3, but like, let's pretend the season begins tomorrow. Like, I've had it explained to me, like, I mean, you could. I'm not saying I would do this lineup, so don't hate me, Kings fans. And I know that some of them already hated that I've said this already, but like, I can envision a world where you've got, as I clear my throat, as you've got Rashawn Holmes at the 5, Domantas Sabonis at the 4, Harrison Barnes at the 3, Kevin Huerter at the 2, and De'Aaron Fox at the 1. And I don't think that's, part of me kind of wants to see it, but I don't think it's terrible. It's probably not a lineup I'd go with. But to your point about, like, does he start? Like, I don't know. There's training camp. Like, that's why you have training camp, and you don't need to necessarily have him go out there and fail. He looks like an ultra confident player. He doesn't seem like someone that's going to lose his confidence, but I still think Mike Brown is going to be very, I think he's going to be strategic with what he does. And I think he's going to be all about defense. And I think he knows that second unit is going to be just as important as who he starts. But I also think, like, for anyone who cringes over the fact that Rashawn Holmes and Domantas Sabonis will possibly play together, like, you do that and then you stagger them so that one of them is on the floor at all times. And granted, they're different players, but those are, like it or not, those are your bigs. Like, Alex Len doesn't really factor much into that equation. Maybe a little bit, who knows? And then you just kind of let it go from there. I don't know that he's going to go 10 deep. I don't think he'll go any more than really 9 deep. So however the roster looks like, which, again, I caution people, we have a ton of offseason left as we record this, or we're live. Hey, we're live, everybody.
Yes.
July 19th. So, well, again, there's just so much more that can happen. And to come out here and anoint him a starter, I don't know. I certainly don't agree with it. I don't think that would be the case. I think you have to have several things play out, but would it surprise me? Probably a little bit. I don't know that I would bet on him being a starter.
Really?
I know, that's why.
And by the way, I'm not even saying like, oh, he should be because he's a number 4 pick. I just think, like, some of the stuff we just talked about, what we saw. I know it's Summer League, and I don't need it. It's just Summer League guy coming in, but
he looks ready.
Yeah, good feel for the game. You can shoot it, and I think that lineup you had mentioned. It's like the spacing to me is just not good enough. Even if you are bullish on Sabonis improving his 3-point shot, what's it really going to look like? Like, best case scenario for Sabonis in the 3-point shot if it gets better. I mean, maybe 35%. That'd be amazing. I'd take that from him. I would take that for him. But, like, I just think having some nice size at that 4 spot, the shooting, the off-ball movement, it feels like he'd almost be the perfect guy for that starting lineup. And your front line would have some decent size with Barnes, with Keegan, and with Sabonis.
Right. And then, but there's another world where, okay, you don't start Rashawn and you go Sabonis at the center and you go Harrison at the 4, you go Huerter at the 3, Monk at the 2. I mean, there's just.
Why are you trying to bench Keegan Murray today?
Well, not only that, and I feel like the amount of times that we saw Barnes at the 4 and it's just not a position that. Not to say that he can't, because he did well when he played in that position, but then it took away so many other things that he could excel at and contribute to this team that needs a lot of shit, So it was like, great, Harrison Barnes can contribute on that end of the floor, being able to guard wings, being able to also on the offensive end be a scorer, cut off the ball, especially with someone like a big like Sabonis that can pass the ball. I don't know. Again, I know it's not like oh, 100% he should be starting. But we did also see with Tyrese Halliburton, again, different coach, different time. But when there was times Buddy starting over him, and it's like, let Tyrese play. Like, let this young guy play. And in Sacramento, I just feel like young guys have to contribute early, especially if they're capable of doing it.
Well, I think both can be true. Like, you have to be able to contribute, but there's a sense of earn it. You have to
For
earn
sure.
it.
I'm with that.
And-
you need
and-
that competitiveness. Like, that sets the culture.
And with due respect to Keegan and what happened in summer league, that doesn't mean shit once training camp happens. Like, that doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely.
So, especially when you've got, you're trying to set a culture and you've got guys that do it the right way. And look, I think it's easy to look at what Keegan Murray brings to the floor and go, you have to have that on the floor. Sure, you do. I agree. You don't really have another stretch four like that, except for maybe Harrison if you put him there. But I also feel like there's so much that gets made over starters that
I'm with you.
You have to look at the complete picture about, like, just because you start that way. And I think we saw so often where Domantas Sabonis would start the game and he's out in 4 minutes. Fox pretty much played the entire first quarter. In summer league, and again, this doesn't matter, but you were seeing Keegan play the entire first and third quarters. And then he'd come back in the latter half, or in the latter few minutes of the second and fourth. So I think it's gonna be fun to watch. I just want to see what it looks like. I want to see what this team looks like. I still think that there's probably a move on the horizon, and as I kind of joked yesterday, like Monty McNair at that press conference that we were both at, where he's introducing Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk, he several times said that they're not done, and I feel like he said it so much he should have just worn it on a t-shirt that they're not done. And it's an ever-evolving situation when you try to build a roster, because it's never done. And I'm glad he acknowledged that. But
Sean, do you think that's a bit of GM speak a little bit? You know what I mean?
No.
Like, really?
I mean, not really, because again, what do we know about Monty McNair? He tries to attach himself to everything. There's a lot of times where you're having conversations, and we've famously already seen it, where things don't really come to fruition, but it isn't for lack of trying and having conversations and attaching yourself, trying to attach yourself to deals. So.
I agree with that. I'm not even saying that he's lying about it. I just think what GM in the NBA is not actively looking to improve at all times. Like, that's literally the job.
Yeah, but I would even say what GM would introduce two new shooters and continually say, we're not done. You don't need to say that. It's about them. It's about Kevin Huerter, bringing in Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk and introducing them as your new shooters and your biggest offseason acquisitions, and to beat a drum to say, we're not done. I think kind of stood out a little bit to me.
Yeah. And, with so much in the NBA, I mean, you've got Donovan Mitchell likely to be moved, Durant, who knows about Kyrie, or John Collins, who has been talked about forever getting moved. He's still in Atlanta. Do the Kings get involved in some of these deals? Can they attach as like a third team and get some help? That could be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it doesn't look like they'll use their biannual exception. I wouldn't bet on it. I think they'll probably save that for next year, but you have a pretty sizable trade exception that's a little bit like $4.5 million, and another one that's right around 1 point whatever. And those you've got movable contracts. You've got a lot of expiring pieces, a lot of guys that don't make a hell of a lot, but it's some that do. So I know everyone's kind of circled Rashawn Holmes and Harrison Barnes as those likely trade targets, and that's probably smart to do, but I think there's other possibilities that exist, and they're going to have conversations about everybody to try to make this team better. And I said it yesterday on the radio, like, you don't make a move in trading for Domantas Sabonis and not be aggressive. Like, you're going to have to. You have to. This signified a shift in your franchise and the outlook of what you're trying to accomplish, and it's the win now versus a rebuild, and you're kind of all in and need to go out there and obviously be smart, but you have to go out there and make moves that are going to position yourself to absolutely compete in the, like, this. That was a huge fast forward compared to where you were just 2 years ago.
What do you think of the Monk and Huerter additions?
Oh yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I first of all, I think it's great when you can get a guy coming off a career year, someone like Malik Monk, especially when you're playing in a situation like the Lakers. Like they didn't have a lot of bright spots last year, and he was one of them. It also represented somebody who's kind of got his life figured out a little bit, and those are pretty well documented. Some of his issues that he's had since coming into the league, and I think surrounding him with somebody that he knows the best, and De'Aaron Fox, I think not only works well for him, but I mean, if anyone saw the interview I did with Fox before going down to Vegas, to me that was one of. I mean, I don't want to make too much of it, but I thought it was a. It's one of the. I was like, is this the most excited I've heard De'Aaron Fox before a season? And he's going into his 6th NBA season, all of which are here in Sacramento. And I don't think it's necessarily because of Malik. I think it certainly that plays a part, but just listen to him talk about Mike Brown and Mike Brown making him a priority while he's dealing with a playoff series, and not only going down and working out with him, but the familiarity that his soon to be wife Rasay has with Luke Laux. I mean, she's somebody who's interned with the Warriors and knows him very well. And I can't remember the last time Fox was not only training with somebody that wasn't his agent, but I mean, he's taking Luke and Jesse Green, one of the athletic trainers, with him on his honeymoon to Italy. I mean, that's just stuff that you wouldn't really see a whole lot of before. Like I don't know if it's a maturity, you can call it whatever you want, but there's an excitement there. And I think maybe it took De'Aaron coming off of a pretty weird season, which was very un-Fox like. And then you saw a glimpse of it after they traded for Sabonis, and he kind of looked like himself and kind of like the Fox we've seen before. So, and people had been excited about. So, whatever it is, like to me, that was one of the that again, maybe I'm making too much of it, but I asked a lot of people their takeaway from that interview, and they kind of came away with the same thing. And so, if it's a combination of Malik Monk and Mike Brown, great. But your initial question, I'm just as big over Kevin Huerter. I think that's a tremendous addition. And I know people have criticized the locking up your draft picks to get him. If you're in the lottery, or if you have a top 10 or 12 pick after making this move in 2024, and you don't basically convey that pick to Atlanta, then you've got bigger problems. And I think this is the problem. This won't put the handlebars on the organization and tie up your draft picks too long, because I think that pick will absolutely be conveyed to Atlanta, and that's a good thing. And I think Kevin Huerter is going to be a massive addition to this team. I like him a lot. And if Kings fans don't watch a lot of Atlanta Hawks basketball, well, you certainly saw him light you up in the regular season. So
Kings killer.
And he does it on both ends of the floor. Both of them are kind of sneaky defenders and sneaky playmakers, but also really good shooters. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
No,
you're not done. You need more than that, but
no,
yeah.
It's right. There's still many holes to fill, but like I was excited about Kevin Huerter when the rumors started with John Collins possibly being packaged in that deal, whatever the hell they were thinking about doing. And there is so much more that he can do as like this young guy, 6'8" shooter that can also is very capable of defending, not only because he's a bigger body, but he's a smart player too, right? Like gets his hands in the passing lanes and everything. But I want to go back to your conversation with De'Aaron Fox. Great job, by the way, because
Hey, thanks.
That's, to be honest, that's all Sean was looking for, was just like, hey,
I
got
get
a
a great
lot
job?
of Fox.
Yeah. Like, come on, someone give me a great job. Can I get a great job? So you're getting it. And it was great though. And sometimes I think that goes to you and players respecting you and being comfortable with you. But with this conversation specifically, I think it's exactly what you're saying. Like it seems like De'Aaron Fox is in higher spirits, is more excited about this season. And for some people, I think they're like, well, why couldn't he just be excited all the other season? And it's frustrating to see, but we're not seeing everything that goes on behind the scenes with everyone, teammates, front office, whatever. We might hear things here and there, but whether it is the addition of Malik Monk and just a GM that is, competent in putting certain pieces around him to better his game as well, it seems like he's in different spirits. But do you also believe that we are going to actually get a different De'Aaron Fox on the floor this season too?
Yeah, I think so. By virtue of him having the ball back in his hands, I think it's going to go a long way. That's the first part. Second part is, and watch how I do this one, Morgan. If you thought the Fox thing was good, sitting down with Mike Brown in Las Vegas.
We were going to get to that.
No, he wants to play fast. Everyone says that, and obviously, Mike Brown's systems don't typically play very fast, but he recognizes that he has a Ferrari, and he's going to have to lean on De'Aaron a lot to initiate that and keep his foot on the pedal, which is something he hasn't done. Sometimes he's that good teammate that has to wait for everyone to catch up. Sometimes he just doesn't. Just keep the foot on the pedal and keep going. But also, in this part, didn't make the interview. I don't think he'd mind me sharing though. Is afterwards we talked about the way he came into camp last year, where he had added some bulk to him, and he's like, I'm not doing that again. Like it took away from what he was trying. What he ultimately felt comfortable the most. He'll certainly. I think there's other ways to do it, but he's going to keep the weight about where he's been, which is around 200 pounds, 195, 190, something like that. And it just fits his frame a little bit better for him. I think it impacted his shot. But I also think it was just a bad combination of that and playing off ball, which is something he's never really done before. And I think he's going to have to learn again how to play off ball, especially if they end up adding hopefully another point guard before the season starts. But it's something that's just going to be necessary for him, and he's going to, and especially when you're playing through a guy like Domantas Sabonis. So I think a lot of it, I think they've just realized how much Fox is going to have to be crucial for their success, and like it or not, whether I know Tyrese Halliburton's gone and De'Aaron had the contract and Tyrese looked like he could easily have filled that void, and people would probably rather see Fox leave. I think the Kings might have been the same in terms of just the money and this being a business and what they had tied up. But when you get a contract like that, it can be harder to move, especially if you're trying to move it and get better. That's tough to do. So they both realize that they kind of need each other. They're stuck with each other, and I think I think they're both fine with that. But now it's kind of an earn it. Now you got to go out and earn it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, because I got the sense his mentality was shifting a bit post-trade. And then even in that press conference right after the season, when he was just talking, he was asked about like, hey, what do they need in the head coach? And he was just talking about the need for structure. And I don't know, that jumped out to me. And then just hearing him with you, he seems like he's got the right mindset. And I think part of it too is, he's been here 5 years and looking around going, can I get some help? And not that Halliburton wasn't help. Halliburton's, I really like his game, and I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. But, obviously that fit wasn't great between the two for whatever reason. And getting another talented guy like Sabonis, who's going to command a double team and who's so good with the ball and getting some shooting around, I think he's more excited than he has been in the last couple of years when, to be fair, Monty didn't exactly do a lot besides draft Mitchell and Halliburton. And then it was just moves on the fringes. It was a Whiteside deal, Glenn Robinson, Kaminsky, just nothing that really moved the needle. This year it feels like, oh, it's a fresh start. It's not only new pieces, it's a new coaching staff. It's probably just good vibes for him. And it's also him understanding probably the importance for him to do well and the team to do well for his own sake.
Yeah, he recognizes it. He recognizes that he's got the best player he's ever played with in the NBA, and he's massive, and he can move the ball and do a lot of different things, and that excitement really hasn't left. But now he's got shooting around him too. Like if you look at, I always used to say that I thought a lot of the criticisms of Buddy was kind of unfair, because Buddy was just still, at the end of the day, Buddy Hield. Like he didn't really change. He tried to be a good teammate, tried to put him in position to be a playmaker. It's like, no, man, just let him do what he does. And they had to have him do more because they didn't have talent very deep on this roster. A lot of unproven talent. You could argue that, but like I would always say that like if Buddy Hield's like your second or third best player, which they needed him to be, then that's a problem, and they had to pay him to be that. You need him to be more like, you know, what you see typical spot up shooters do, and that's why the likes of LA and these teams that are perennial playoff teams were interested in him, because they recognize what he could bring, and not have him be a best player, come in and be surrounded by a couple alpha males and tell him, no, this is what you're going to do. This is the system you're going to fit into. And I think he flourished in Indiana. I thought that the pressure was off. So I think it's going to be good for him. And I think everyone realized that when Buddy Hield got traded, it's probably not only the best for him, like he could go to another situation and flourish because he'd have better talent around him. And I think it just spoke to the lack of talent that was in Sacramento at the time.
Yeah, and I think too, we've seen this over the years in Sacramento, just like how I was talking about with Harrison Barnes. You can't just be good at your position. And I understand the NBA has evolved into positionless basketball, blah, blah. But when you're on the Sacramento Kings, you are going to be asked to do way more. So it's going to challenge you way more to push yourself to a different limit. And I think with someone like Buddy Hield, he didn't understand that until a later part of his time in Sacramento, and also just a later part in his career. And so you're right. Maybe now somewhere he can be, well, especially in Indiana, be that guy that can be that spot up shooter and check up those shots. I really wanted to go back now to your conversation with Mike Brown, and I want to know if anything else stood out to you in that conversation.
Yeah, I mean the playing style and how much he's talking about leaning on his veterans in Sabonis, but particularly Fox. Like he mentioned, like it's not going to be like you got a honeymoon period, but it's not always going to be good times. You know, like he's going to have to lean on him a lot, and I think the best part of Fox recognizing that there's a structure and discipline and a system that they needed in a head coach, and they're going to get that on steroids with Mike Brown. And you know, we talked about it a lot, like the stuff that I'd heard about Mike Brown and known about him from just covering the league as long as I have, and everyone talking about him being this OCD type of coach, which they all are, we know, but his OCD is a little bit weirder than maybe some others. And I kind of called him on it. I was like, hey, I've heard this. And he's just like, oh yeah, no, that's true. And maybe it's subsided a little bit with experience and some of the stops that he's made along the way, and his successes and failures, and those have been well documented. But when you come to Sacramento and you don't really have that superstar player, and you have a team that's just hungry for any level of success, like making a play-in tournament, takes a pressure off. And so I think he recognizes that bringing, I mean, you hear so many people talk about it so often in culture, and it's like, not even that, man, just bringing something that is a system and trusting that system and the mechanisms that are in place for a team to grow and be successful, and him having that bullet point corny PowerPoint presentation he was like showing in his press conference. It wasn't wrong, but those pillars of success, if you will, those things that need to be in place in order for an organization to succeed, and him identifying that and trying to put everybody on the same page and people to really embrace their roles and not be something that they're not. So important, just so important. And that's just like, look, I don't think Mike Brown's the best coach in the NBA, don't get me wrong, but I think he might be, of the 7 that were considered, I said he's the one I'd hire, but he might be the right coach at the right time for the Kings, because coming off of what they had with Dave Yeager and then to Luke Walton, like I feel like they took a step backwards, and that's no real disrespect to Luke. It's just, I think what his method was and what was surrounding the organization and the talent that they had at the time, going from Yeager to Luke was a step back in success. And I think you can look at the win totals and that kind of bears fruit. But I think now that you've got players like De'Aaron who had both Luke and Dave, and they recognize that they were better under Dave, and Dave had more of a structure and had more of a system, if you will. And it wasn't so I don't want to say casual or laid back, but it wasn't. It was just a little bit looser. Basketball was a little bit more free under Luke, and they wanted to have a like a freeness to them as opposed to somebody calling out plays every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds. So I think you'll see a little bit more of that, but I still think they're going to want some free flow to them. They want, Mike Brown's going to want to have a system that was like the Warriors, where you can have pace, you can have free flowing ball movement and all that, but a commitment to defense as well. You also need talent. So I think that's going to be the tough part. Year one could be a little janky, and as they often are under new head coaches, but this is the fun part. This is where you get to see them actually grow.
Vegas, in their initial over-under, has the Kings projected for 31.5 wins. Sean, I know you're pretty good. That's
good.
I'm sorry?
That's pretty good.
Stop it. That's so low. They were at like 36.5 last year. They're clearly better.
I'm not stunned about how low it is, by the way, Sean. That's
right.
Deuce.
What did they finish? How many wins they have last year? 30?
30. And they got better, and they added some bonus.
Yeah.
I just think if you're looking at, the start of last year with that roster.
But here's the other thing too, Sean, because I'm more along the lines with you, where I'm also like, even if they did get better, you just mentioned it when you were just talking about Mike Brown and like, hey, first year head coaches, things are always a little janky. Like, you've got to grow together. People just think it's not like you're plugging in a LeBron James, a Jason Tatum, and some other guy and being like, all right, now it should be at like 38 wins or whatever the hell you want to put it at Vegas. So it's like you made the roster better, but other teams in the West, are better. Other teams in the division are better, which the Kings play more games against those guys. So I'm fine with 31.5, even though I do believe it's a little low, but whatever.
I honestly, my pushback right there, I don't know that you could say the division's better. The Lakers are what? Still the Lakers. They're still messy.
LeBron, AD.
The Warriors lost a lot of key pieces. They did. And they're still going to be good.
Healthy Clippers.
The Clippers, sure. And then the Suns. Did we see Game 7 last year against the Mavs?
One game, bro.
Okay. See, you're going to downplay
that.
They
got to play Game 7.
You're going to downplay all that. That's fine.
I'm not downplaying. Okay. Sean, now what's your opinion on the 31.5?
So yeah, likely the Spurs are going to be worse, right? We're going to have the Spurs worse. Utah will be worse. Minnesota is going to be better. And I think with the Lakers, they're just going to be healthier. And I think that's at least the mindset there.
Anthony Davis is going to be healthier. You're going to take that bet, but 31.5.
And LeBron, hopefully, I think for Laker fans, I think they're used to Anthony Davis being hurt.
LeBron and DeRozan won by 2 points in the Drew League.
Why are you even like they? Get out of here.
What Deuce is saying, he's going to go bet the house on the over here. Yeah,
I am just honestly, that number floored me. If you would have put it at like 36,
not floored,
36.5, I'd be like, okay, that's about the same as last year. Whatever, they got to prove things. It's Sacramento. I'd get all that. The West, 31.5 is utterly ridiculous, and people are going to make a lot of money if they bet on that stuff. I think. What's your best case?
You know where I stand on this though, because like,
what's your best case, worst case for the Kings then? Let's say best case.
You got to see it. You got to see it first. You don't.
I understand that, but you watch the NBA. You could see it on paper as we approach the season.
I'm with you, Sean.
God, you fence sitters here. I mean, they got better. You're talking about how much you like Huerter and Monk and how they can help. Sabonis and Fox is in good spirits. They add Keegan Murray. I mean, what's the best case? Okay, let me ask you this. Just like I asked Morgan, I feel like, God, again, interviewing another politician here, dancing around the question.
God.
I did the same thing to Morgan. Can they be over 500 next year?
No. Wow. I think they can be. I don't think they will be.
Okay, that's fine.
I said that same thing. There we go. See, we didn't sit on a fence with that.
Yeah, like I also, again, this team still has a lot of holes to it. Most 500 basketball teams have pretty complete rosters that you're ready to compete with. And I don't think they're ready to compete yet. I don't think they're there yet. They have players I like, and they have things I like. And I was kind of realizing this last night, where sometimes fans you can say some good things about Neemias Queta, for example, right?
Yeah.
Neemias Queta and I think some people might be really high and he's ready to be a roster player on the Kings. No, I wouldn't be there quite yet. And I know I was having a conversation with Damian last night, Damian Barling, and Damian was pretty high from what he saw with Neemias in summer league, and I said, well, I think what it looks like to me, and again, I was a little pretty critical of what he looked like in California Classic. I think he looked better towards the back end, but I think he's on the right path. Like two-way player, still being there. I need him to play more in Stockton.
Yes,
I need him to
agree.
be. I'd like him to go out there and be a 20-point scorer and do so efficiently and rebound the hell out of the ball and be a monster like he is. I think it was super impactful for him to be around the team last year and see what NBA culture is all about. I think it's going to be even better for him to be around somebody like Sabonis and say, hey, this is what life could be like. This is what maybe you should strive to be like. Only maybe a better defender and whatever else. Like this could be what you project to be down the road. By no means do I think he's an NBA player. And I think people are ready to move on from Alex Len, and I don't blame them, but I think Alex Len is a hell of a lot more skilled center than Neemias Queta is right now. He also has the benefit of,
I don't know about skilled. I mean, I'm borderline.
Experience?
I think Queta.
The experience definitely
has upside for sure. I think especially to start the year, just have him in Stockton, get those minutes, get some real time, because there were so many times last year I felt like he was
in between
in Sacramento too much for not even playing. And you're right, there's some benefit to just being around an NBA squad, picking Sabonis' brain, all that stuff. But like, he just needs to play.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Len. What I mean by that too is like Alex Len has the intangibles. He knows he's a professional. He knows what works for him. He knows how to work in a system. I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's a great player. I don't think he's a great player. In fact, I wouldn't have made that signing. I've famously said that, but
famously,
famously for some people in the organization who didn't appreciate me saying that. But that's a former number one pick, man. Like there's people who still like what Alex Len can bring to a basketball team. It's just, it didn't work. And you were surrounded by so many big men, and Queta is just so raw and still not there yet. And, it could project well down the road. Sure. I get it. They're high on him. They like him, but this is exactly where he needs to be. So just using that in mind, like somebody gives somebody credit about what they can be, what they could bring. That doesn't mean that, hey, that's what they're going to be next season. And sometimes people read that a little wrong. Like KZ Okpala, Chimezi Metu, Chima Moneki, guys like that who come in and you like them, you like what they can bring and what they can provide. And certainly there's boxes they check, but doesn't mean it's going to translate to wins and losses. Like you can still do better than those players like in the NBA. So, man, like I just, to me, when it comes to picking win totals and looking at rosters and saying what a team should be, I don't like it because, to me, I have to see it first. Like I can't tell me, dude, it's been 16 years of this shit. So you can't just sit there and say, like, they should be this, they should be that. Like, I agree with you in theory. Like, the expectation of you being in the upper half of the NBA, yeah, you should be there.
That's all I'm asking. I'm not, again, I don't need a specific thing, but I think we can all look at rosters around the league and before a season go, hey, that team should be pretty good.
Sure.
That team should work.
Is this team incrementally better defensively, do you think? Because I don't.
No, I don't think defensively. No, I mean, I think they're banking on things that we haven't totally seen, where it's like, hey, Brown can Brown put a system together. You've got smart, high IQ guys. You don't have a ton of lockdown defenders all over this roster, but I think he could put some guys in a position to be improved defensively. And again, it all, in my opinion, starts with De'Aaron Fox, because I still think Fox can be a solid defensive player in this league, and he showed times in certain matchups against like bigger guys last year he could do it, but he's got to do it from the get, and he's got to be engaged completely on that end. But I'm also not under any type of thought that they're going to go from like 30th to 10th.
No.
But can they go from 30th to 22nd? Like if they do that and the offense is better, they should be just a better team.
I think you look at the high IQ guys and it makes you a little bit more excited on the defensive end. But I also am excited to see what Mike Brown can bring. My expectations, because I think a lot of people have these expectations like, look what he did to Andrew Wiggins. He's totally going to do that with, De'Aaron Fox or whoever the hell. And it's like, oh no, it doesn't just work like that. Like, they have other very, very good defenders on this squad to also have in place to work with, And so with the Kings, his system is going to have to be the system that works where you plug in these guys and they all buy in. And even when you're there, how many times can you practice that before you get into all? I said it's going to take like 20 games for them to get that down and really have that trust and understand each other at a higher level defensively. And hey, you guys, we saw it too happen with a first-year head coach in Ime Udoka in Boston with the Celtics.
Some very talented defensive
and
players.
some very talented defensive players.
Marcus Smart and
absolutely
Jaylen Brown.
But
and Robert Williams
but look how
and
they
Horford.
turned it. They evolved into something better.
I see what
and
you're
that's
saying.
all
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying is that the Kings could still. I'm not saying turn it to that level, but you might see that growth after 20 games or something.
Yeah, and you're right. They turned it around. I mean, things were going really bad for a while.
Right.
And then they inject like Al Horford life into them, which is hilarious. And things all of a sudden, and they've, you've got incredible talent. And I think at the end of the day, you can do any system you want. You can have whatever. You can have, Red Auerbach in his prime. Talent's going to win out. And I still think, while I like the talent better, I just don't think it's enough. And, they haven't played any games yet, and still we have a lot of offseason left. So I hope to be where Deuce is by like October 1st.
What I am stunned by,
another move.
I don't even think I'm being like overly crazy
You're
I'm looking
not,
at
but
this
you're very
roster.
optimistic.
If you have Fox and Sabonis, who I like both those guys, and you
Right.
add shooting around it,
Yeah.
Keegan, I think, can help right away.
In theory,
I think
it sounds
Davion's going to
great.
be, I think the coaching's going to be better. I think Davion's going to be better. I just think this is one of their most talented rosters over this last 16-year
Sure.
drought, which I know is not saying a ton. But, yeah, I think offensively there's some real promise in the Fox Sabonis pick and roll with shooting around it. I do think Keegan's going to be impactful from day one. I'm not saying like 20 a game or anything like that, but I think he's going to be able to knock down shots and he's going to be able to play some solid defense out there. I just think they're a better team. And I don't think saying around 500 is some ridiculous. I'll be honest, I'd be really disappointed if they weren't at 500.
Jeez. No, Deuce is like
No.
an optimistic realist where we're like just realists, you know?
That's fine.
Mine
And
is more cautiously optimistic because
Okay.
I do like the pieces.
I'm
Like I
just a
said, I do
realist.
like the pieces, but you start comparing them to other teams in the league and there's a more complete product, if you will. And I just don't know, like right now they got a lot of holes, man. You could use another stretch four. You could use a 3-and-D. You can use
Rim
a
protector.
backup point guard. Yeah. I mean, there's
but okay, for example, let me
like
bring this
the
up.
depth, the quality depth on the team is still not there. Like we talked about that last year. I was very critical of the offseason. People were like, oh, they're going to be this. I'm like, well, what? Like, I didn't think so. And I said, there's a difference between depth and quality depth. Just because you have pieces that, yes, technically play a position doesn't mean that's quality depth, because all you have to look at is go, will this person be higher player
Man,
or whatever on another team? Would he fit the same role on another team? Let's take Terrence Davis. If he was on Phoenix, where does he rank out? If he was on
Hell, he may
Indiana,
not.
where does he rank
Davis may not get run in Sacramento this year based on the moves
Right.
they made.
Well, and
I mean,
I
mean, look, Rashawn Holmes was a starter last year.
Mm-hmm.
In all likelihood, he's coming off the bench, right? Like
And
Malik Monk or Kevin Huerter is coming off your bench. Like you're clearly, I think that is way better.
Way
depth than
better depth.
Trey Lyles, he may not even play, but Trey Lyles is a nice bench contributor that I think could help some teams around the league. I don't know. It's fine. They've got the track record of being shitty for 16 years, and maybe I'm having an easier time separating it. I'm just looking at things and going, I could see it. I'm not acting like they're not flawed. I think defensively is a huge question. Rim protection, yeah, legit questions for sure. And then, someone like Casey Okpala, I like him. I think that's like a high upside guy. It's low risk, high upside, but like, is he going to be impactful? Like,
Right.
I don't know. Like, yeah, there's that the wing depth isn't fantastic. I just think overall they're a much better team on paper than by far the start of
100%.
last year.
100% agree with that.
At the end of last year.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I'm just, I appreciate where you are cautiously, Sean. I appreciate myself and my realistic views.
You guys aren't going to say they're good until they're good, and that's fine. I'm just.
That's
and
not
you know what,
true.
though? But if you go back to the original point, the 31.5, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, yes, please take the over because, it's your money. but it's also like Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox, they're looking at it and they go, hell yeah, they better be better than 31.5 games, right? You have you're putting the product together. If you're not, it's a colossal failure, man. So like, I get it. Like I get it. And that's the hope. And I think Deuce subscribes to that hope. Me, it's just if it's my money, I'll bet against, and I'll be right more times than not if you're looking at how many times they've made the playoffs in the past 16 years.
Well, they're not going to be bad forever, guys. I know that it seems
Deuce,
crazy.
Deuce says that, and
I've said it every year since 2010. They're not going to be better. They're not going to be bad forever.
Not going to be bad forever. That's a good T-shirt. That should be on a T-shirt.
Also, Portland being at 41. You're telling me Portland's legitimately 10 games better than Sacramento? Stop it.
I'm not confident in it right now, but I also believe more in Dame Lillard and Jeremy Grant together as what caliber of player they are together.
Was awesome last
year. So
year.
again, what caliber of player they are together. Why are you just going off of last season? Come on now. Stupid.
I actually had somebody I was kind of surprised because there was a, I don't want to put them on blast, I wish I could, but they're like, hey, why do people think like Dame Lillard is this killer still? Like as if like it's just gone away. And I kind of looked at him funny, but I'm just like, okay, but why can't he be?
Thank you.
I realized there were circumstantial things that happened, but it's almost like as if people just take him away as being like an upper echelon talent, or like Dame was easily a top, what? Do you put him in the top 10, top 15 at one point? Like, where do you think his peak was?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Where was he in the All NBA? I mean, obviously he's a top 15 guy, I think.
Right. I mean, his clutch ability alone is just elite, or was if you want to take away last year. So
no, I like Dame a lot, and I
do too.
That team, like, they're
not. It's not like they're gonna jump defensively just because they added Jeremy Grant and someone else,
Josh
Hart.
They'll be better in some ways.
Yeah, but you're just not going to see it just take
healthy
a huge.
Nurkic.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, there's a lot of things I like about the Portland Trailblazers, and like I 41 wins, just because I see it like right there with the Vegas odds doesn't mean I'm going, oh yeah, that makes sense. I still feel like
I look at those two teams, Portland, Sacramento, and go, they're pretty close to each other.
I still see Portland
that's fine.
above.
Again, you're going with Dame and
I'm
track
going with
record.
Nurk,
It's fine.
Like, how could I not?
And you know what? We're all going to look back at this of April next year. April of next year.
Yes.
Okay. 100. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for him. One, but two, yeah, he gets buckets. He gets buckets for sure.
Yeah.
That's a flawed team too.
It absolutely is. No one's saying it's not.
And who would you rather have as your head coach, Chauncey Billups or Mike Brown?
Well, right now, you just don't know, but probably Mike Brown.
I guess.
I'd rather have Mike Brown.
Yeah, that's.
Summing it up, I'm sure we'll look back at this at April of 2023 and laugh at me for being so optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
That's
probably.
Fine. That's fine.
Can't wait.
Sean,
what was the most fun thing you guys did in Vegas?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I mean, I think
I heard Morgan stood in a pizza line for about 3.5 hours.
1 hour, and ate a big slice.
By the way, I went to that same place because I was like, I guess I have to see what this is all about. 10 minutes.
Are you?
Well,
screw you, Sean. Why would you even bring that up?
I
really
think
good.
I think the funnest thing about Summer League, and you're a veteran of it, like, it's just connecting with people throughout the league, from media people, coaches, execs, just chatting with people. And it's like you're surrounded. There's nothing like Summer League. There's nothing that no other sport can have something like this. I think I saw someone with a great example comparing it to like South by Southwest. It's like an NBA version. And it's just like everyone is in this spot. It's Las Vegas.
Yeah.
It's a loose environment because it's Summer League. I think the energy just makes it so fun. I think one of the most fun moments for me was the Orlando Sacramento game, to be honest.
Oh,
it was
that's
just
a great
the
point.
finish was insane, and it was Banchero, it was Keegan. The crowd was so into it. Like in the overtime and sudden death when Banchero's bringing up the ball and literally everyone in that building standing up, you just felt the rush. That's pretty damn epic to have in a summer league game.
Yeah, and that's why even when you ask that question, Sean, I automatically just go to when we were in the gym, right? Like the amount of times I just didn't even realize it was 7 p.m. and it was dark outside after I had been there all day long, and just soaking in basketball. It was a different level, and I don't know if this is because, like everything that was going on the last couple of years and then just the energy in the building, but it was so cool, like meeting some people too that we've talked to before that we've never met in person, and just seeing how sweet they are. A lot of good people there.
Especially over the last few years. And if you can remove like the pandemic element out of this crack that I'm about to make, but being that it is Vegas, you see some people in a different light, and there's a little bit of like the Survivor element to it that always amuses me, like Survivor, the TV show, because people have to like survive in Vegas. Like
yeah, it's not easy.
It's
especially
not.
for me. Like, me, I don't like staying up late, and the fact that there
Right.
were 2 nights I was getting in 3:30ish in the morning, like that took a lot out of me.
The amount of water I had to steal from the media room,
boy.
like, come on.
You're not the only one, pal. And that's the first thing you need to do when you land. It's so dry and hot out there. You need to go right to CVS, right to Walgreens, and get the 24-pack of water, because you don't want it from your room, because they're like, what, $9 or whatever? Come on now.
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch one of those gummy things that they say, like, if this moves,
Ew.
you will pay $19.
Right.
What?
I just go straight to the tap water.
Yeah.
Fill it up in the bathroom sink.
That's a brave soul. That's
Hey,
boy.
I'm alive. Sean, when's the next episode of the King's Beat podcast? Are you guys doing more, or what's going on now? With the offseason?
I to be honest with you, I have no idea. Usually we record like Tuesday, Thursday, or something like that. But Mr. Ham is on 1320, so we actually haven't had any discussions on when we're actually doing it. So I have no idea.
I still, that picture he posted over the weekend, by the way, with him and his wife. Congrats, big anniversary.
Oh, congratulations!
Yeah.
Congratulations. By the way, nobody missed your summer league coverage, but I will say, good for you. You were not in Las Vegas.
Throw the fedora away, Ham.
No ham slander on this podcast.
Morgan, you're gonna sit here today in front of these people watching us live, in front of Sean, and tell me the fedora is a good look.
It's whatever you believe.
I can't pull it off. There's no way I can pull that off.
I think you could pull it off. I think
it takes a brave man to do
it does. And I appreciate the confidence of people and their fashion sense. And I think we need to be much nicer. I wear a crew neck every day, and I have 5 of them. So
Dude,
I rotate my crew necks.
Honestly, Morgan, I think the worst quality you have
Okay,
now in
here we go.
your adult life,
neck.
as someone who has known you for a long time, Sean's known you for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You won't roast anybody anymore. It's like, no, everyone's got their own style, and it's so unique, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, the fedora looks funny on Ham. It's okay. It's a funny gimmick. Fedora Ham.
Look, we can agree. He's married. He's got a beautiful bride, and if she likes it, he's gonna wear it, right?
There
Like,
we go. There we go.
But I will say,
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
You guys are assholes.
Samuel L. Jackson wore a hell of a Kangol, fedora back in the day. I can't. He's my favorite actor. I can't pull that off. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, teach their own. Again, someone could make fun of me every day for wearing a crew neck, and people do. People like, aren't you hot? Aren't you hot? And I'm like, no, I'm comfortable. Half the time, I don't have to wear a bra, and it's actually fan-fucking-tastic. So there you go.
Okay. Jeez.
There's a lot of information that just came out of that one.
Took a turn for sure.
No, it's just that's a comfort thing.
I know,
Everyone should be feeling very comfortable about any
I-
woman saying that.
I just don't know. You get into F-bombs everywhere. We were just talking about fedora Ham, and it turned into, let's all make it about Morgan, I guess. So
Wow. Okay. Whatever. I'm comfortable, so I don't care.
Sean, appreciate you hanging out with us for a bit.
I appreciate you guys.
Even though you and Morgan think they're going to win 30 games.
Okay.
No, I just want to see it. I wouldn't bet. That's all. Don't bet. Like have your don't bet your house.
Don't.
unless you're Deuce, who's so sure of it. Again, 31 wins doesn't mean playoffs. So okay, we can.
No.
You can either way. It's not going to be good.
No.
So I don't know. I need more of a complete product. What do they look like? What's training camp look like? Let's get through the summer.
Okay, what some training camp hype videos gonna like? People got caught up in Tristan Thompson talking at
don't do it
training camp, and it was like, hey, let's sign this guy.
I remember that.
Don't do it.
Bad signing.
Yeah,
bad signing. Not a good signing.
Congratulations to the new father, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's something. You guys weren't gonna go to any concerts in Vegas with me. I was very disappointed by that. I didn't get to go to any, to be honest.
What is this? A pity party?
Okay, you were there for 8 days. We were there for 3. We were machines. We were trying to get stuff done. We got some stuff done, and I mean, we did the best we could.
And hung out. And we hung out. I didn't go to dinner.
I didn't see you at any time.
He's lying. Get him away.
It happened one time.
Get him off my show.
All right, Sean. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Bye, Sean.
That's the one and only Sean Cunningham stopping in. We got more coming up. We'll wrap some things up in a sec. We should mention that today's podcast presented by our friends over at Revitalite. Morgan needed Revitalite after Vegas and during Vegas because when you're dealing with that hot desert air and you may be throwing back some drinks, you need some Revitalite.
I didn't even tell you. I brought some to Santa Barbara for my girls' trip, too.
Good move.
And one of my friends even asked, do you have that Pedialyte thing? And I said, hey, stupid, it's called Revitalite, and you better call it Revitalite from now on because Pedialyte's in the baby aisles. Revitalite, it's in the liquor aisles. That's where you're going to go get your Revitalite. That's where you're going to recharge. Go get your 6-pack, go grab whatever the hell you drink, and grab a Revitalite on the way out. But not only that, also, if you're clanging and banging like Deuce, you got to make sure that you're grabbing one to rehydrate after your workouts as well.
But where do you grab it, Morgan?
Oh, I said it already, in the liquor aisle when you're grabbing your beer. No. Not in the stupid baby aisle.
Yeah, at Rayleigh's or Bel Air.
Oh, that's where.
That's where. You can't just go to some random aisle, okay? It's at Rayleigh's or Bel Air. Go to your alcohol aisle and pick up some Revitalite. Check out their website, drinkrevitalite.com. Also presented today by a New York Times bestselling author, the one and only T.R. Reagan.
God, my inspiration, this lady. She has sold millions of copies of her books. Why? Because I mean, she's just probably one of the creepiest writers out there, and people, for some reason, like creepy ass writing. It's very strange to me how many people love thrillers. And if you're really into the scariest of scariest thrillers, you got to read T.R. Reagan books, especially if you're going on a summer vacation. You can let me know too. Always reach out if you want me. I can always send you a book here and there. Yeah, just a few. So you can always hit me up too. I can send you a hard copy too for any vacation you might have. You can go to trreagan.com or go to amazon.com and search T.R. Reagan for all of her books.
Appreciate everyone's support of the Deuce and Mo podcast presented by our friends at NBA Top Shot. All right, we need to get to some comments. We appreciate everyone watching us live. The biggest thing you could do right now is hit the thumbs up. That should be over 200 by now. Also, huge hell yeah to Kenneth.
Give me a hell yeah.
Kenneth gifted 50 Deuce and Mo memberships on YouTube. Appreciate his support.
Kenneth, thank you so much. Making everyone a member. I love it.
I think my biggest takeaway from Sean and our conversation with Sean was just how both of you guys like the Kings' moves.
Okay.
Said it's been a good offseason. You like Mike Brown, but you still don't think they're going to be good. It's just interesting.
I think that's dramatic. Saying that they're still not going to be good. Again,
Morgan, if they win 38 games, you're not a good team.
So
you're
again,
not, especially with the pieces.
That's you measuring their success purely on their win-loss column, which we disagreed with yesterday. And I said, that's not the only way I measure their success. And I talked about their growth. And someone that I love, Ray LOOOOOVE, actually tweeted at me when I put out that clip about us talking about how I value or how I measure the Kings' success. And he says, I agree. A good season is about growth and development, which isn't necessarily reflected precisely in a specific win-loss record. Play-in would be good as long as 7-8 teams don't tank Kings into the playoffs, causing them to miss out on the strong 2023 lottery. And I agree with that in the sense, I want the Kings to get there because they belong there, right? And obviously, that's not always how it's going to be when you see some teams toward the end of the season. But I love what he's saying is that you can measure a team on their growth, on their competitive nature on the floor in one season, especially under a new head coach. What are we doing?
No, I don't get that. I mean, yes, obviously you want to see development. No shit. You want to see growth and buy-in to the new coaching staff. Those are all what you call no shit. But Morgan, at the end of the year, I know this may be shocking to some, but in sports, it is about wins and losses. That's how you're measured.
That's also a no shit. But here, let me give you another no shit. In sports, you don't just like go, here's a team. Oh man, they look good. Let's make them look good and play well together. No, Deuce, you have to understand the development that goes into players working together. And I know you know this. You are a smart person. Yeah. So I don't know why you're denying this.
What I'm denying is that you're acting like, hey, if we see development and they buy into the coaching and they win 37 games, good year.
That's not what I said at all. That's not what I said. I didn't say that's a good year.
Then wins and losses do matter, Morgan.
Deuce, wins and losses matter for every team in every league. Congratulations. That's so great to know. We need to calm down because we are definitely getting heated. Wait, hold on. Just listen. But Deuce, I think this goes for anyone that has ever coached any level of basketball, You see how positive growth can be, how you can become a successful team by seeing growth one year and then having more growth on top of that. This first year, you're gonna need to see growth. You're not just gonna see a team be like a playoff team because you want it to be a playoff team.
I'm not suggesting that, but my whole point is you don't have De'Aaron Fox going into year 6 and Sabonis, who, by the way, his contract is winding down in Sacramento, who's going to have to decide whether or not he would want to stay in Sacramento.
I understand all these things.
The pressure is on to win.
It absolutely is.
And if you win 35 games this year, that's a big-time issue.
Well, for a lot of people, that's a big-time issue, and you don't want to see that. But at the same time, you have to be realistic when you look at it. You can't just be like, okay, because we made this happen, this is a 35-win team. No, you still have so many holes, and sometimes all those holes you cannot just fill within a season because that's just not how life works as a GM or as an organization or even as a coach or a basketball team. That's just not always how it works. But yes, the pressure is on. I don't get how you don't we're in real life.
What you're talking about, this whole notion of, hey, you just got to get better and develop and that's you know who's worried about that this year? Houston's worried about that this year.
Shit, but I know this. I know this. So what? I don't get what you're saying. I understand this, but you can't tell me right now, with a first-year head coach, a brand new team for him, to be like, okay, let me put my entire philosophy on this team with solid players, one all-star, but solid players. And he's supposed to make that team into a playoff team in the first year.
I don't know where you got that jump, but that's fine if you want to go there. I'm talking about being at 500
with
the talent that they have.
And obviously, if they were a 500 team, wouldn't they most likely be in the playoffs?
No, they'd be in play in. There's a difference.
There's a difference. There is a difference. We don't need to talk like that.
That's what you were doing. You're clapping in my hand.
Hey, you hit.
How do you like it? How do you like it? I throw on my hands.
You hit me.
Oh my God.
I can't. I'm crying. I don't like it at all. We're getting
Pullover says y'all are arguing about semantics too much. No.
Because we can.
I just don't to me it needs to be about wins, and I'm not acting as if here's my whole point. Let me just sum it up.
Okay,
before we wrap it up.
Sum it up.
Yes, when you get a new coach and new players, it's not smooth sailing right away, really, and you have to be realistic.
Especially when you don't have all-star players.
Do you want to interrupt me?
Stop.
I'm wrapping up. You don't have all-star players. You have a 2-time all-star on your team.
Got it.
Domantas Sabonis.
I was saying multiple, but go on.
Okay.
Got it.
So when you it's not going to be smooth sailing right away with new coaches, everything. It's got to come together. The chemistry, yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
We're not talking about 50 wins.
I wasn't saying
I'm just
that's
saying
what you're
41.
talking
Like
about.
I think
get
there.
that.
My point is there needs to be an expectations for wins. There can't just be, hey, just develop and get better, because
So
that's
the
not going
team
to be
should
good
have
enough.
those expectations for wins, Deuce. But why are your expectations for those wins?
Let me know when I'm allowed to talk, and we'll talk. I don't know if I'm allowed to
I'm
talk.
interjecting, so proceed.
I know you're talking over.
Proceed.
You're talking over.
Proceed.
My point is there needs to be expectations for wins and losses this year. Yes, not only from the team, but from fans can have expectations too, and they should.
You
Like,
absolutely
this
can.
is the most talent. Like all I'm hearing when I hear like, hey, no, it has to come together and all this. Yes, I grant you all that. But then I start hearing just excuses like, oh, if they don't get to like a close to 500 record, I hear excuses
What's
like,
the
hey, you have to be
excuse?
realistic. You only have one All-Star. It's like, no, like this, you have good players.
That's not
Like,
an excuse, dude. All that is talking about when you have one All-Star and not multiple on a team in this league where we said talent runs all at the end of the day, and that is truth. So when you don't have that, it's not an excuse. It's more saying, but you obviously can't just pick out of a hat just like this All-Star and be like, oh, we got an All-Star. Like that goes on Monty McNair making those moves, right? That goes on the front office being able to get more All-Stars and or developing more All-Stars. But developing more All-Stars takes time. It's not going to just like Keegan Murray isn't going to be an all-star next year, but developing him into one could be something else. What?
I don't know.
I'm so curious. We've had this conversation so many times.
It's more baffling, I think, than anything. It's like, I don't know if it's this weird protective thing.
It's
that
not at all.
People in Sacramento are like, hey, like, I don't want to put expectations because I don't want to be let down, or, hey, you need this. Dude, I'm aware you need talent in this league. But, like, if you look at the Kings roster today and don't think this is probably the first time in a long time that I feel like the national media is more favorable when it comes to the Kings and people in Sacramento. And maybe it's because, like, people who cover the Kings and people who watch the Kings on a regular basis are like, I've been sucked in before. I've believed before. I'm not believing again. Wait and see. And that's fine if that's your approach, but it's just interesting where people around the league are literally going, oh, the Kings have done pretty well. Keegan's look good. The offseason's been good. I think they've got a competitive team out there.
And I do too.
It's just, I feel like I am on an island with very few people, and I'm looking around going, okay, maybe I don't know basketball, because although this team is very flawed in many ways,
absolutely,
they haven't figured it all out. I see the talent.
And I love that, and I see the talent too, but I also see talent around the league that is going to be better than the talent in Sacramento at times, because not only have these teams, because this is a team sport, have these teams play together, but they have more talent to play against the Sacramento Kings talent. That doesn't mean that the Kings did not get better, but it just means that talent around the league also got healthier and better as well.
Some teams did. Some and some got
some,
worse.
absolutely.
Utah's worse. San Antonio's
Absolutely.
worse. OKC,
100%.
not good.
100%.
They've got promising talent. Houston,
I
they're
agree
going to
with
be
all
raw. Okay.
I agree with all that.
And again, when I'm saying this about Sacramento, it's not that I'm suggesting that this is an easy road.
I know.
The West is tough. The West is going to be really, really tough.
It is.
That's part of it. That's why you play the game.
And I'm more excited than ever to watch this roster, this Kings roster play, because I feel like there's going to be so many nights that when we are talking about losses, a loss after a loss, there's going to be no moral victory bullshit. You're going to have so much more to talk about on the basketball floor than, man, it looked like so-and-so was tired, or man, it looked like, he didn't want to play defense tonight, or the effort wasn't there. I don't feel like we're going to see that with this team. And to me, that is growth, but I'm not acting like that's the end all be all either.
MK says healthy Zion and Ingram in New Orleans. Yeah, they should be good. It's not going to be easy. I mean, that team's still flawed. Zion's still got to work. I mean, we haven't seen Zion play in a long time either. Portland. Anyway.
I know.
What?
Nothing. What? You think I'm gonna hit you or something?
I don't know. Man. You're just looking at me funny. You're looking at me funny.
Why'd you move so far away?
I just, Pullover, can we talk about Kevin Huerter and his role in offense? I haven't seen much off-ball movement as I thought I would when watching highlights. No, I think he can move off-ball, but, I mean, yeah, I always felt like the Hawks' offense severely underachieved, and I think that's part of the reason they went to get DeJounte Murray, take some pressure off Trey, so it's not just Trey doing his thing. They want to add a little more creativity with it. I'm not the biggest fan of Nate McMillan's coaching. I think it's far too rigid at times. I don't love his rotations. Obviously, he's coached a long time. I think he knows the game, not denying that. But I don't know that he got the most out of that Hawks team last year.
There was times he wasn't
underachieved.
Trusting his second unit or the guys that were getting things going for them, and it was like, okay, I got to go back to the first. What? No, trust your guys, and I that's just his coaching philosophy, and you've seen it work and you've seen it not work.
Yeah, but I think Kevin can do. I think he can handle the rock. Obviously he could shoot it at a pretty solid rate. He got off to a really slow start last year shooting, and then got it together. Yeah, this offseason, it is only July 19th. We are going to make sure we have plenty of awesome content, too. We're going to have some cool conversations coming up. We'll be live again 10 a.m. tomorrow with a guy that I've been on his podcast before. It's called Combos Court. Andrew's a great guy. I want to get some outside perspective on the Kings, the NBA, and we'll also hit on Summer League because he was out there, too.
Hell yeah.
We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Thanks so much to Sean Cunningham. We love you guys so much, but we gots to go.
We'll see you all Wednesday. Bye.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that you know.